Tansinito Temtech, it's Cathy Richardson, Kinu Isqueu. And in a minute, Allan Wade, uh, master therapist and co-founder of response-based practice, is going to interview me to demonstrate how we do a response-based interview. And so keep your eyes open for attending to dignity, looking for responses and acts of resistance, and what we call social responses, how people around us, how they respond, what they do when we need help or we seek services. Are these responses positive and helpful? Do they make us feel safer and valued? Or are they negative and racist and stereotyping us and increase our potential suffering? So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, so I'm back with Allan, and in this role play, Allan is going to be the therapist, and I'm going to be the person on the receiving end or conversational partner, depending on how you like to talk about this
Yeah.
and what we're doing. And yeah, do you want to say a few words, Allan, or should we just jump right in?
Hi, everybody. Uh, Hi, Kathy. This is fun. Thanks for inviting me along to have this convo with you.
Yeah,
I understand that you've come to the radical decision to move west to come back to Vancouver Island. Is that right?
yeah. Well, it's a I think it's a multi-year transitional plan.
Right.
What I wanted to talk to you about today is like, how will I know? There's important decisions that have to be made,
Right.
and it's a very big thing,
Hmm.
moving a household and moving a family across
For
the
sure.
country again.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about the decision making process there, and some help me become a little bit clearer of how that could go.
Right. Gee whiz. And so it's a multi-year process. You're planning, you're kind of thinking it through. Yeah. Am I going to miss my favorite coffee shop in Montreal? Am I going to miss the winters? Am I going to miss my buddies at the university and the various agencies? And yeah,
Yeah, and am I abandoning my fellow and sister Métis people here, my Métis cousins, because Métis people are not really recognized or valued in Quebec, and so
mm,
it's kind of a hard go, and
sure.
so I would be leaving them behind. Um,
Mm,
and there's a bit of grief and a bit of worry about that too.
sure. Not only on your part, but by your friends and colleagues in that community, I imagine. Are they aware? Have you told people in that group that you're getting started on planning this? And
Well, I have let some people know that one day I might be retiring, but it's kind of a ruse because I'm not getting older. I actually don't age. So I'm just I'm really not going to retire. It's more like quitting or escaping, I think.
uh,
Uh, yeah, but I would probably get more sympathy or empathy from people if they thought, yeah, you've done your time, you're 60, whatever, and now you can retire. But it's really that I think my spirit is calling me to the West Coast.
mm,
There's something about living there, including my community of friends who are still there and still, intact and would love to have me back, but also the ocean, and the eagles and the
mm,
arbutus trees and
yeah,
all that. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That's what I'm looking at out my window. The arbutus trees and the forest, and not the ocean, but yeah, the mountains and yeah.
And the
So,
chickens.
and the chickens, absolutely.
Last time I visited you, there were chickens on the everywhere, but on the deck, and they would sit on your shoulder.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty friendly chickens.
Yeah.
They have no boundaries, our chickens. I don't know what happened. We didn't raise them properly or something. So, did you say you're 60?
I'm 63.
You're 63.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
Good.
look a day over 61, do I?
I'll say, but does is that age relevant in terms of, contracts and pensions and when you get to make decisions about coming and going and from the university and all of that? Is it?
I think according to, sort of the policies, people
Hmm,
often retired when they were 65. And now that the university is, like many English speaking universities in Quebec, sort of on the verge of bankruptcy, they'd probably be really glad to get rid of my salary. And so, one of the things that I am planning is I have a sabbatical coming up,
hmm,
yay, for 6 months. And then I'm contemplating taking a year off without pay after
right.
that so I can practice being
Mhm.
a retiree.
You're just gonna suck at that, you know. You're just
Yeah,
gonna suck at being a because you just got this engine that runs at high revs and keeps going all the time. You're gonna end up doing all kinds of interesting things.
for free, right?
Yeah, probably right. That's what it means to be retired. Now I do it for free.
My thing though is I want to experience freedom away from an institution.
Right.
And I think taking that, that year off to, develop some contracts or
Mhm.
more
Yeah,
of a private practice or something will
sure.
give me time to kind of anchor I hate talking like this, a financial foundation. I don't know
Yeah.
if my kids will graduate from being mummy money recipients by then. So,
Well, you've got too many kids to have a financial foundation, as do Kath and I. It's like
it's eroded.
that went out the window. Yeah. So okay. Well, yeah, and that kids, and you've so one of your kids is out here,
Yeah.
and then your other two kids are back there with you, right? Or Rupert is overseas at the minute, or
Yes, we're just
yeah,
deciding if he should stay in India or if there's going to be an escalated war there.
yeah. No
As you
kidding.
know, you can't tell kids what to do. So you
No.
have to lay it out. What do you think? What would you think would the safest thing to be?
Yeah.
And you just want to say, get on the plane and come home, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. And here's some money for getting on the plane.
Yeah.
So that's a consideration, I imagine. What is this going to mean for my kids? And you'll be negotiating carefully with them about what they're going to do and
Mhm.
how it's all going to be combined together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I'm trying to do it incrementally. Two of my kids are still in doing their studies.
Right.
One's in a master's, one's in a doctorate, and they should be done in a year or so.
Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah.
you've got a whole crew. You kind of have to think of everyone's feelings and needs,
Yeah.
and you can't just kind of, you know, take off. You have to plan and inform
Yeah.
people. They like it when you communicate with them about what you're doing, but it's a one-way thing. They don't like to communicate
Yeah.
with you what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The rules are different. So, but then you have this community of people as well. I'm interested in knowing more about that. Your thoughts about your community of Métis people there, and what you said about that.
Yeah.
What are your I don't know, concerns? Is that a good word? What are your feelings about it?
Yeah. So the nature of the oppression in Quebec is, in the Canadian Constitution, three Aboriginal groups in Canada are recognized: the First Nations, the Métis, and the Inuit. But because of the tension between Quebec, which is obviously a French-speaking French nation, um, not by not bilingual. It's an unilingual province, and they don't. I don't think they follow the Canadian Constitution when they don't want to. And so
Hmm.
they don't acknowledge Métis people. And the official line is there's no Métis people in Quebec. At least there was no historical Métis communities. And so there's a big debate about that. But anyway, we're not recognized here. We're not in the Constitution. And yet I have a community of people who I latched onto almost immediately after moving here, who moved here
Mm.
from the prairies,
Mm.
some from BC, you
Yeah.
know, many from Manitoba. I think you've met some of them,
Mm.
Saskatchewan, Alberta. And we do think we've started having some Métis gatherings here and offering, cultural opportunities to young
Yeah.
Métis. But also, almost the most important thing is educating Quebecers about
Right.
the Métis are. And
Mm.
it's in a strange context where a lot of certain kind of Quebecois, obviously not all of them, they
Mm.
they think that they're Métis. They kind of
Right.
identify as some kind of indigenous people,
Mm.
even though they're kind of not. It's very complicated because they
Okay.
feel like they were colonized by the English,
Right.
which they
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
So they're the victims, and indigenous people don't really fit into their equation very well. So
Mm.
not only uh, don't are we not acknowledged, but also our identities kind of being usurped, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very tricky, and it's been important, I think, to support students and younger Métis people and also Indigenous youth that come out of the child welfare system here. And yeah, there's lots of people doing good work, but we are small. And I've had
Mm.
this position that gave me some resources. You know, I I taught the first Métis class probably ever in Quebec at Concordia for
Mm.
2 years now. Um,
Mm.
and people, especially the First Nations here, they really appreciated learning about the Métis. They said I didn't know all this, and they appreciated our culture and said, "Oh, we do things like that too, but we do things differently." So that's important to me. I felt
Yeah.
like there were things I needed to do in Quebec, and I guess I'm getting ready to pass the feather to the others who will carry
Hmm.
on. But I'll
Yeah.
miss them for sure.
Yeah. Well, that work, I suppose, you learned a lot of this um, when you moved to Quebec and you took up this role at the university. I imagine you learned, you would have known a lot before you got there, but I imagine you learned a lot more about the place of the Métis in Quebec as compared with Canada and about um, Métis community and the need for Métis community and how you might try to address these things in your teaching and your and so on and so forth. It sounds like it's been quite a process of deepening your understanding of all of that.
Yeah, it has. And when I started teaching at Université de Montréal in French, I
Right.
realized quickly that the French that I learned was nothing like the French that people were speaking here. So that
Mm.
there was a big understanding problem. So, I had to deal with that and I got help. You've met Janny. She became my teaching assistant and
Mhm.
really helped me through that. But at some point I went to see a EAP counselor here, and that woman was from Lebanon originally. And she was listening to me talking about adjusting to my new work environment. And she said, I can't remember the name of it, but she says, "Oh, well, you've got displaced immigrant syndrome, same as I had. Like, you basically emigrated to a new country. Quebec is a new country. Everything is different than the rest of Canada. The bureaucracy, the policies, the laws, the
Mm.
language, everything." And she attributed my um, unease to being part of that process as if I was an immigrant. And I found that really helpful.
You did, yeah?
Yeah.
An interesting way of putting it in context and also making a connection between you and her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what difference did that make to put your experience into that kind of framework?
I guess I felt
How
an
did you find it helpful, in other words?
yeah, I felt an alignment with people of the diaspora,
Right.
people
Okay.
that moved here, and refugees, some immigrants, and lots of English people. Some people have been here for a long time, and some move here. Lots of
Mm.
people come from the West, young people, to go to McGill. Like, that's supposed to
Mm.
be, it was the number one university in Canada, not anymore, but they would come to McGill or to Concordia or
Mm.
even to Bishops, in the Eastern Townships. And they would just have to adjust. And until recently, the tuition fees here were the lowest in the country, and apartment rentals were the lowest in the country for big cities. So it was a pretty good place to be and super fun, for music. And so
Mm,
I think, like, to really enjoy it, I had to turn off part of my mind that was really analytical, and
mm.
you can't try to decolonize everything all the time or you'll just be really depressed. You have to learn how to turn it off and just like kind of have fun, go to the
Yeah.
festivals and jazz fest, um and I did make friends with some really nice people who were musicians. So there's a really beautiful part of living here. But I'm
Mm,
also, like I said, I'm aging, and I had a good hit of the city, and I think I'm fine to live by the sea now in a more quiet way.
yeah. If someone asked me on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is Kathy Richardson at having fun? I'd say 11.
Oh, thanks.
You- You'll be bringing your having fun skills back to the coast
Yeah, they're
and
really,
and your analytical mind.
you really need friends to do that with. It's fun
Yeah.
to have fun by yourself, but it's like who's noticing? How
Yeah.
do I know I'm really having fun if I'm not
Yeah.
having fun with someone else?
Yeah. Yeah. Community is so important to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. And you have a community. So it isn't just a matter, though, of leaving a community sort of in the generic sense. There's really, I don't know, for lack of a better term, political um, goings on that are make a community of people with similar experience, Métis people, for example, make that community all the more important.
Mhm.
And so it's not a small thing to move on, to move away from that.
No, I guess it's like when you choose a life, you choose a
Hmm.
partner, you choose where you're
Hmm.
going to live, you choose
Hmm.
maybe how many children, and there's always loss because you made this choice, but you didn't get all those other things that were. So it means really like taking a stand and saying, yeah, I want this. And that means there's some grief because I have to leave all these other things behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including people you really care about and people who really care about you.
Yeah, like one of the big costs of moving here was that I was too far away from Yukon to keep going up and working with the Casco folks. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you and Shelley were able to keep doing that for a while, just like to keep the connection, keep the cord strong.
Yeah.
Uh, because then I got to hear about it. And now we have a new generation of people that are carrying on that work,
Yeah.
which is really
Mm.
beautiful. But that was a loss. I used to go up there once a month for a number of years, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We did. And you did.
They didn't want to keep paying my plane ticket because it's so much to
Yeah.
fly
Maybe
across.
with any luck, maybe we'll have an opportunity to work more closely together. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, that would be great. Like there's so many things. And also whales. I still have
Mhm.
this whale orca pendant. I wear it almost
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
And it's the West
Beautiful.
Coast and it's the orcas. And they don't exist here. I mean, there's some
No.
up there, but I haven't been up there Tadoussac yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the land is so important. It's so much a part of who you are and what it means to be in a place, isn't it? I mean, like you're saying about the trees and the arbutus trees
Mhm.
and everything else, the weather and what have you, the sea.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think maybe one day my three children will end up either living there or Juliet would joke, let's be bi-coastal. We're not on a coast here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I'd say, no, Métis people, they're seasonal. We have four places to live.
Hmm.
So like we have a little sort of like a fishing kind of place on a lake. Uh,
Yeah,
that I have to give that up to. It'll be really sad. But
yeah.
you move around in the summer, you go to where you can
Hmm.
pick berries, and then in the fall where you can get salmon, and
Hmm.
I don't know what the heck you do in the winter. Crab animals freeze. I don't know. And then
Yeah,
spring, like that's sort of in my genes. I think my family lived a lot like that.
right.
And so I kind of do that. I kind of have little like places to live, or else my kids live in them. It's kind of
Yeah,
all over the place, but I'm trying to tidy up that, like
yeah,
reduce it a bit.
sure. And so you're negotiating with your kids about what all this is going to look like and what it's going to mean. And also you're thinking ahead to, I imagine you're thinking ahead to certain things. Is there anything in particular that you kind of imagining happening or thinking about being a part of or creating or finding when you're here?
Yeah, I have a vision of finding the right kind of place. Um, well, obviously for my partner and I to live, but for us to do our work, I had this vision of like a big barn, like we with a
Yeah.
chandelier and a Iranian rug, a Persian rug, and big
Right.
sofas, but a place where we could, work and hold workshops and
Okay.
retreats, develop our ideas,
Yeah.
and just spend more time talking and sharing stories of practice, maybe running supervision groups. So I want to be in that kind of practice community again in my
Right.
working life. And as you know, I work for the Cowichan tribes
Yeah.
doing some supervision, and that's a very interesting and beautiful community to work for. And so I plan to keep doing that.
Right on. Good.
Yeah. So our colleague is in Kamloops, so I
Hmm.
might have to have a loop around Kamloops too.
Hmm.
But yes, what brought this to the forefront of my mind is I was talking to a friend, and I just said kind of haphazardly, I think I spend 95% of my waking time thinking about moving. Like
Mm.
I think about it all the time, and it's like, when is the good time? When should I sell this place?
Mm.
And should I rent a place after I sell it, or just sell it and move? But
Yeah.
literally, it occupies almost all my waking hours. And she said, that must mean something.
Mm. Yeah. What do you think? What does it mean?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
does it mean? Does it mean something?
Yeah.
Does it mean you're motivated or
Yeah.
fixated
Yeah.
or
Preoccupied or
preoccupied?
focused. Yeah.
Yeah. Focused. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything, is there anyone or anything in particular you're worried about leaving behind that gives you pause, that
Well, it's probably, I don't know, a bit human and a bit silly in a way, but I really like I like houses. I like architecture,
mm,
and I like this little place here in the plateau. I would miss it. Like I just the four walls and just
yeah,
the place, and um the little place that we have by the lake,
yeah.
just to go now and then. I would really miss it. I guess I'm afraid of missing things, like, oh no, more, I don't know what, more grief, or
Hmm.
but part of it is, we live on Vancouver Island, and the man-made parts of Vancouver Island are really ugly.
Hmm.
The car lots, the strip malls. Like I don't like the man-made creations around
Yeah.
um where I grew up. Ironically, the only nice houses were built by like colonists. The McClure house, the architects. Those are the
Right.
really nice houses. And I'm afraid I don't want to end up in a BC box. I don't want to,
Right. Right.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't want a place with white walls again.
Right.
Yeah. So I would really like to have a place where I felt was really beautiful and aesthetically pleasing.
Mm.
So I mean, that's a bit much. It's a bit rich. It's very spoiled. But that's what I would miss. The nice buildings here. The
Yeah.
architecture is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Like
beautiful
old,
place.
Yeah,
I haven't spent much time there, but enough. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Just
yeah.
to walk around and take all of that in. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
So
So
that's what I miss. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And do you and this the group of people you have back there, are they going to be supportive once you sort of let the cat out of the bag a little bit more and let them know you've got a time frame, you've made the decision, you have a plan? Because it sounds like you haven't got all the details worked out, but you do have a plan.
Yeah, I'm cooking it up every day, adding new ingredients to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you reckon that people there who you know are going to be supportive?
Oh,
Pissed off?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been putting out some feelers and I haven't really um, found anything that I could really jump on yet, but
Yeah.
I think I'll find it, like one thing at a time, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how long now until you have that sabbatical?
It starts January 1st, so I'm taking off
Yeah.
December 15th.
Okay. So that means you have one more semester, basically.
Yeah, I'm teaching one class in the
Okay.
fall, and I have
Right.
a research chair in Indigenous healing knowledges. And
Okay.
even if I can get a year off, I might see if I can arrange something where I could still access that money and plan a few events from wherever I am. We'll see. They might say no, you have to like completely get out
Right.
of here, but doesn't
Okay.
whatever.
You'll do that then?
I'll do whatever.
You'll
Yeah.
completely get out of there then.
Yeah, if I have to for that
Oh,
year.
okay. Fine then. I'm gone.
Yeah, and then I'll just
Okay.
decide
Yeah.
when I come back. Like
Yeah.
either I'll be like brokenhearted and bankrupt, and I
Mhm.
come claw, crawling back. I need my job back, or I'll feel completely liberated and say, "This was great. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'll catch you later."
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you planning to do in the sabbatical?
Oh, I'm starting in France,
Hmm.
and then going to Sweden,
Okay.
and then I'm going to go to Denmark.
Hmm.
And I'm working with Shelley Dean on doing some file reviews for
Hmm.
the Ministry of Children and Family Development. And
Right
our
on.
colleague Kimberly in Australia is doing the same thing there. So
Hmm.
we are going to be analyzing the lives of children who were placed in state care and
Hmm.
how that went for them, what kind of social responses they received, and
Right.
what became of their lives, and what possibilities were denied them because of the
Yeah.
way things are. So that is work. Some of it I'll do in Kamloops and some of it I'll do wherever I am. But
That will be consuming.
yeah, it will.
That will be really consuming. It's so great that you guys are doing that work. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
looking forward to talking with you about what you learn.
And I always boast about British Columbia because they handed back Indigenous child welfare to the Indigenous communities. And
Hmm.
I think that's a first and important step.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's all functioning beautifully yet. I think it's in a transition period,
Yeah.
but there's a real opportunity there. And at least when you take care of your own, you know, at some point we have to start doing that more, and not just, blaming bureaucrats for everything that goes wrong. We want to get back to community centered,
Yeah.
culturally based
Yeah.
care. Yeah.
Good.
So I think we'll be able to advise on that transition.
Yeah. Yeah, that work, I'm so just grateful that you guys have been invited to do that work.
Mhm.
You know, it's so interesting that Kimberly is doing similar kinds of things as well, right? And
Yeah.
where where she is, that'll be interesting to have both of those things happening at the same time
Mhm.
and to compare notes about what you're learning about what's been happening.
I think it's really interesting because she's working with Kate Alexander, and Kate is up at the top in the bureaucracy, as you know, and
Yeah.
Kimberly's looking at files and seeing how it all went and how their sort of newer policies were actually
Yeah.
trickling down and being activated on the ground, and or how they weren't.
Yeah.
And then how do we make meaning of what's going on between?
Hmm.
When at the top they say, this is great, we're going to do dignity centered care, and we're thinking, oh, that's so beautiful, and then you're having the same outcomes as before. But there is an opportunity for a conversation and to look at what's keeping people from really making family dignified decisions
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
upholding indigenous cultures and communities.
Right. Yeah, there's so many influences in that kind of a system. There's the legislation, the laws, all the bureaucratic procedures.
Mhm.
It is a big ship to turn. It takes a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So part of my sabbatical is going to be about re-anchoring in BC as well, spending some time there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to talk with Susan Preddy about the fact that you and Shelley are doing this work?
Not recently. I have
Okay.
done work for the BC Reps office where she is
Yeah.
recently, and wrote a report about how to align
Yeah.
Indigenous child mental health with
Yeah.
child protection. And the report hasn't been released yet, but
Mhm.
I did interact with her a little bit, and I find them very, um, very nice to work with, very hopeful,
Yeah.
really wanting the goods.
Hmm.
They really want to know what we should be doing, because I think
Hmm.
they really want to make it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you're going to cause problems and trouble no matter where you go.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well do that on Vancouver Island as anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe even Salt Spring. Who knows?
Maybe even Salt Spring. Oh, now, wow. The island off the island.
Yeah, we'll see.
Are you including Salt Spring as a place where you'd look to live or?
Yeah, and maybe Gabriel. I mean, I'm just thinking,
Okay.
these Gulf Islands are so beautiful, but I
They
have
are.
to really reckon in the ferry.
Yeah, the
Ferry,
travel is a bit, yeah.
if they break down, you're stuck there unless you have a boat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's harder for people to come see you. Hang out in your barn,
it's true. I hope one day to have grandchildren that I can visit. So it might be good to be on the big island.
right? Have
Yeah.
you told your kids you're hoping to have grandchildren?
Uh, I think I think they know.
But of course you can't tell them what to do.
No, you can't tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your plan is actually set pretty good. You've got all that thinking you've been doing, 95% of your consciousness seems to have resulted in a pretty well laid out plan. There's some things that you don't know yet, and there's some losses to it, but there's
Mhm.
also a lot of gains.
Yeah, and my family's on Vancouver Island.
Yeah. See
My
your mom?
mom,
Yeah.
yeah,
You'll be close to your mom.
she's becoming a senior, and my
Becoming a senior?
yeah, my 87-year-old senior, and my
Wow.
sister and all her kids and family are on the island.
Yeah,
So it's nice to be around family too.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially when your mom's getting to be a senior.
yeah.
How's she doing?
Yeah, I think she's doing pretty good. I'll see her in June.
You're right. Okay. And you'll see us in June too.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice. Okay.
yeah.
Well, it'll be great to have you back here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it will be wonderful. It's just the process in between is like, which decision do I make first?
Yeah, when do you put the place for sale? Who do you tell? What's the sequence of steps to make it all happen in the best way?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And like I say, when you have other people involved, it becomes like just a big road show, So
Hmm.
yeah, but I appreciate the chance to, the opportunity to think about it with you and think about the sequence and the losses and the opportunities. Yeah.
One of the things you know a lot about is moving around,
Yeah.
traveling.
The downside is everyone says, oh no, don't ask if you could store stuff in our basement. Even my kids don't want to. No, I don't want to store that. I actually rented a storage locker in Parksville because I was tired of getting rejected.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So it's just your stuff, right? Your things that are
Yeah.
the burden.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've even got some of that figured out. You know where your storage locker is going to be. So.
Yeah. And I haven't lost the key yet. So, yeah.
Oh God, the number of times I've searched through the vehicles looking for the storage key.
Yeah. Luckily, there's no dual authentication process with a password. It's
Yeah.
just an old fashioned key.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Good.
Well, so good. It's wonderful to hear, Kathy, that you'll be coming. And though I guess it's 2 years in ultimately. Well, no, it's less than that, isn't it? It could be more like 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
That's not long.
I think in the like next spring
Yeah.
for a while. And then if I actually get this
A year.
year without pay leave,
Yeah.
I would have to. I haven't mapped that out yet. That will be fun.
Well, then, yeah, but you're going to first have to figure out if you can get that, I guess.
Well, I asked my boss, and she said they'd probably love it because they would save all that money.
Hmm. So
But
you're okay.
yeah, she did add, but we would miss you.
Oh,
Which is nice.
oh, that is nice.
Yeah, the human touch.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for the call. It's
Yeah,
good.
well, thanks for the conversation.
Yeah. No, it's lovely. It's great to, I mean, it's good to talk with you regardless of the reason.
Yeah.
Thanks. for inviting me.
Okay. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm just gonna pause and Haichka.